Okay. Hello, Mike Kako. Good morning. And mahalo for joining us today here in person and online out there in Zoom land. So I hope you and your ohana are doing well and that you had a restful start for the new year. For those of you who may not know me or can't remember back that far, I'm State Senator Mike Gabbard. I used to be a townie and we owned a home in Kalihi, and then we moved to a condo in downtown Kukui Plaza. I think it was, yeah. And then moved out to Eva Beach in 2002. And our family has lived in Kalaeloa since 2004. I'm a former high school English teacher. I was a faculty member at American Samoa Community College, also a dean there, a tennis pro for a while, and then also private school headmaster, small businessman. And then instead of throwing things at the TV and complaining all the time when I saw the evening news about those rotten politicians not getting anything done, I decided to run for office. And so served on the Honolulu City Council from 2003 to 2005 and been in the state Senate since 2006, representing District 21, which includes Kapolei, Makakilo, Kalailoa, Honokahale, and then portions of Fernandez Village, Eva, and Kolina. So a couple quick housekeeping things before we continue. Some of you know we call these community meetings Listen Story, because my primary goal is to give folks the opportunity to talk, let me know what their concerns are, share that, and then so while my staff and I listen. And so the format usually is I'll give a brief legislative update, then a community update, and then sometimes we'll have a guest speaker, and then I open up the meeting to hear your ideas, your concerns, your complaints, your suggestions, whatever. The exception for that is twice a year. Today is one of them, at the beginning of session and at the end of session, where I give a wrap up of what happened, if we accomplished anything. And so and then those of you who've been here before, you know that we promptly start at 9 o'clock and we try to best wrap up by 10 o'clock. So if I don't get to your question or your concern today, then don't hesitate to follow up with my office. And we're just happy to continue the conversation. Good morning. Aloha. So the restrooms are located out this door. Just follow the wall to your right, all the way down toward the cafeteria. And before we get into today's meeting, I'd like to introduce my team that helps keep our office running and supports our West Oahu community every day. And I mean that literally. As my staff, they don't know what a time clock is. They work weekends and during session especially, and there's no overtime. They're just focused on serving. So thank you, staff. Everyone on the team except our interns is returning from last session, so which I'm really grateful for. That's Meg Turner in the back. She is my office manager and committee clerk. She's been with me for 12 years. Yes, you can see that she's a glutton for punishment. And Meg keeps everything moving from the committee work to day-to-day operations and makes sure that our office stays organized, responsive, and on track, even during the busiest parts of session. She's in, yeah. So, and then Melanie June, right over here, she is my community liaison. She's been with me for almost 2 years. If you've attended a Listen Story, a community event, or reached out about a district concern, chances are you've worked with Melanie. So she's here running the slideshow, taking lots of notes, and helping us keep on time. And then we have Donna Lay, that's second from the right. She's my legislative aide and plays a key role in guiding our policy work through the legislative process. And Nadia, on the far left, she serves as our assistant committee clerk, supporting committee operations, coordination, and preparation to help ensure that our work runs smoothly and efficiently. And then we're also fortunate to have 3 volunteer interns, Ching Ching Chen, Isaiah Snow, and Sophia Carl. They're not pictured here, but they are an important part of our team and they contribute behind the scenes. So I'm proud to work alongside this group, and I'm confident that they'll continue serving our community with care and professionalism and integrity throughout the session. So let's jump in. So for those of you who were sleeping during 7th grade civics class, or you skipped class altogether, here's how our legislative process works. 25 Senate districts, about 1.4 million people in the state. So that's roughly 56,000 residents in each of the Senate districts. The senators serve 4-year terms. There are currently 22 Democrats and 3 Republicans. In the House of Representatives, there are 51 members. They serve 2-year terms. And that includes Representative Diamond Garcia, which represents House District 42, which is where we are today here in Kapolei. Currently, there are 42 Democrats and 9 Republicans in the House. So the 2026 legislative session, it officially begins the third Wednesday of every January every year. So this coming Wednesday, January 21st, we begin, and it ends the first week of May, which this year will be on May 7th. I'm starting my 10th year as the chair of the Agriculture Environment Committee, or AEN for short, and I'm also the vice chair of Judiciary Committee and the Government Operations Committee. Excuse me. So just to give you a sense of how things work at the Capitol, each legislative session, over 3,000 bills are introduced. About 250 to 300 actually pass into law. So some of you don't know the difference between what's a bill and what's a law. And so a bill is basically a concept or an idea. And let me give you an example. Say one of you contact my office, the legal age to vote in Hawaii is 18. And let's say you contact my office and you say, Senator, why don't we lower it to 16? Okay. So what happens is that we talk stories. If I agree to introduce the bill, it gets referred to a committee or committees for hearings. So there's 15 Senate committees and 18 House committees. Excuse me. So for example, on a bill to lower the voting age, let's say it gets referred to, it looks like this. Okay. So that's the Government Operations Committee. I'm on both of these committees, by the way. Vice chair, so that helps in terms of getting the bill passed, by the way. So it has to pass a 5-member committee usually, get a majority in that, and then it goes to the Judiciary Committee, okay? Or that's if the referral. Now the referrals come from the leadership. The leadership, the president, the vice president, and there's about 5 or 6 other members of the leadership committee. They talk to all the committee chairs, right? There's 15 committees in the Senate. And so, good morning, aloha. Well, they get our priorities, and that's where they come up with their priorities, but they also do the referrals. And so let's say they come up with this referral. So this means it has to pass the Government Operations Committee, then it passes the Judiciary Committee, and then it goes to the whole Senate for a vote, right? But let's say it gets you see this. Here's another referral. All right, what that means, the difference between a comma and this is that GVO and JDC, it's a joint hearing. So those two committees will meet together, and in order for the bill to go on farther, it's got to pass GVO and JDC at that original meeting. And then it goes to Ways and Means Committee. And then if it passes there, it goes to the full Senate, 25 members, as I said, majority is 13, and you get the 13 votes, and then it goes on from there. So, so the same process goes on in the House. There are committee hearings. You pass. The full House is 51 members, so you need 26 as the majority there for it to pass. Now, once it goes through that, at the end of session, no, it doesn't go to the governor yet. It goes to what we call conference committee, and that's a mixture of House members and Senate members selected, and then it's usually mid-April to the end of mid to end of April, and they get together and let's say they've got differences on the bills and they want to tweak them. So that's where that happens. So once you get agreement there, okay, we all agree, okay, it passes that particular conference committee, then it goes to the governor. And the governor has 3 choices. He can sign it into law. If he doesn't sign it into law, it becomes law automatically. And the third choice is that if he vetoes it. And if he vetoes it, then you need 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House to override his veto, and then it becomes law. Okay, and then so many people have the misconception that, oh gosh, let's say this bill to lower the voting age to 16. Oh, Senator, we lost. What are we going to do? You know what? It's the beginning of a conversation. Sometimes bills will take 4 or 5 years to pass, because that's just the way it works down there, okay? So you just come back the next year, you can reintroduce the bill, and then you start the whole thing over again. So in a nutshell, that's how the process works. So now what I'd like to do is look at the overall Senate priorities for 2026, and then my AEN, my Ag Environment for my committee, those legislative priorities. And then we'll also look at the House priorities as well. So for the Senate, the big picture is, again, as I mentioned, the leadership in the Senate, they reached out to committee chairs, asked for ours, and then they made the decision on what the overall Senate priorities would be. So I'm not going to go into detail on any of these because of time factors here. So I'll just mention them. The first priority is housing and affordability. That's affordable and workforce housing. Department of Hawaiian Homelands, DHHL, known as supporting home ownership programs, condo insurance, and maintenance relief. The second one priority is workforce and economic diversification, which will include education to career pathways, teacher recruitment, enterprise zones, advanced manufacturing, tech, and small business support. Number 3 priority is healthcare and public safety. Protect MedQuest and emergency funding, provide provider recruitment, telehealth, law enforcement, and first responder staffing. And then the 4th priority is education and higher education, K through 12 and early learning support, school facilities, farm to school, UH governance, and student housing. And the 5th priority is food security, agriculture, and environment, local food systems, SNAP access, biosecurity, climate resilience, water management, recycling, and circular economy. The 6th priority is infrastructure, transportation, and community support. And then that includes roads, airports, transit-oriented development, support for kupuna, houseless, and vulnerable communities. And let's see, also number 7 priority is government reform and operations. That's transparency, hiring, insurance regulation, energy governance, Mauna Kea oversight, agency, and coordination. So those are the Senate, very general. And as we go through in the meetings coming up, we'll go over and I'll bring you up to speed on how these priorities are doing. Then in the House, their priorities include number 1, affordable housing, and that's expanding mixed income and transit-oriented housing, increase rental and homeownership options for low and moderate income families. Their second priority is Native Hawaiian housing, oversight of DHHL programs, and the $600 billion in Act 279 funding to move families off the wait list. The third is social safety net, that's protecting food, housing, and health services amid federal funding uncertainty. Number 4 is state workforce support to improve recruitment, training, and retention as retirements rise. And their 5th priority is economic stability, promote economic diversification and long-term financial planning for Hawaii's future. And then for the governor's priorities, number 1, affordable housing, expand access to safe, affordable homes statewide. Number 2, healthcare system, and that's strengthening healthcare services and workforce capacity. Number 3, homelessness, address homelessness with compassion, urgency, and coordinated support. Number 4, climate action, protect Hawaii's environment and build resilience for future generations. Now, my priorities as the chair of the Agriculture Environment Committee. I'm focused on what helps Hawaii stay stable and help us move forward. And so my work this session centers on these 3 priorities. Number 1, food security and the ag tech workforce. Secondly is climate protection, and number 3 is biosecurity. So I'll start with food security because it's the foundation for everything else. So as we head into this 2026 session, I want to share what's guiding my work as the chair of the AEN committee. And that is, the work is about long-term resilience for our people, our Aina, and the next generation. Food security remains one of my top priorities, and it's because the urgency is real. We still import 85 to 90% of our food at a cost of about $3 billion every year, and the average farmer is over 60 years old. This is crazy. And you've been hearing me say this for years now, I know. Some of you are nodding your heads. And it's crazy because we've got hundreds of thousands of designated ag land for these farmers. We need to be all about growing farmers. That's what we need to be doing. And you've heard me, I won't go into any detail, but that's why Ma'o Farms, the program out on the west side in Maka'a and Waianae, is really the solution. It's really helping us grow these young farmers. And so if we want a resilient food system, we have to grow more food locally and grow the next generation of farmers and producers. And so the good news is that we have made some progress over the years. The last few years, we've doubled our local food production goals. We've expanded farm to school program. We've created better pathways to state agencies to buy local. Last year, we started building a statewide network of food and product development facilities so that local businesses can scale and add value and compete under the Hawaii-made brand. You may have seen that on the news, the one out at Wahiawa. And it's really, I went out there for that opening. You think about it. Okay, what about the farmers now who are all in that area, right? And where all the schools are, right? And they say, well, we'll go to the school, talk to the principal, talk to the chef at the school. What do you guys eat? Oh, you need 200 pounds of carrots? Okay, then you can start planning for this thing. So the plan is in place. We just need to start acting and implementing. So one effort I'm especially hopeful about is the Interagency Food Systems Working Group that we finally have moving forward. I think it was 3 years in a row, I think, that I introduced legislation to do this, and finally we got it passed. So the whole idea is that food systems, it's not one department, right? It's not just the agricultural department. And so neither should be the solutions, right? It's all about getting everybody out of their silos, sitting down, talking story, coming up with solutions, and then acting on it. So now the focus shifts to implementation and the people. So farming has to be economically viable, technologically advanced, taking advantage of the tech, and then still rooted in our culture and in place. So we're also exploring a coordinated ag tech pathway. And what this does is it connects students from high school with apprenticeships and real careers in precision ag, hydroponics, robotics, and value-added production. And so food security isn't just about food. It's about opportunity, good jobs, and keeping our young people connected to the land. So if we want food security in Hawaii, we have to grow both food and the opportunity together. My number 2 priority is climate protection plan. We're already seeing the impacts across Hawaii: sea level rise, wildfires, flooding, rising insurance costs, and risks to our infrastructure and economy. And so this is showing up in people's daily lives and in their pocketbooks, right? So with uncertainty about future federal funding, we need to be prepared to protect our communities. So this session, I'm focused on a statewide climate protection plan, which is practical and science-based. And so what that means is bringing together state agencies, scientists, community voices, and local expertise to set clear goals, realistic timelines, and strategies for risk reduction and adaptation. So, this isn't about ideology. It's about responsible planning and protecting people, places, and systems that we rely on. And again, it's just like farming. It's important to bring young people into this conversation since, well, guess what? They're going to be the ones that are going to live with the outcomes of the decisions that we make today. So if we're doing this right, it has to be inclusive, grounded in science, and shaped by Hawaii's communities and landscapes. And then my 3rd priority is biosecurity. Protecting our islands from invasive species is essential. And this is for agriculture, our environment, and our way of life in Hawaii. You all have been seeing on the news about CRBs, coconut rhinoceros beetles, LFA, little fire ants, coqui frogs, or we have these invasive trees and plants like albizia, myconia, and smokebush. So in 2025, we expanded the Department of Agriculture. It's no longer DOA, it's now DAB, Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, to bring focused attention and real accountability to the work. Now, the focus is on the results. And that means faster inspections, stronger enforcement, and real protection for farmers, ecosystems, and our local food supply. So biosecurity isn't about abstract policy. It's about frontline defense. Every pest or disease that slips through costs our farmers, communities, and state far more down the line. So this year, my focus is on implementation, making sure that the systems work and staff on the ground have the tools that they need. And just to be clear, let me just add one other thing, and that is that we had a briefing the other day and with Hawaii Invasive Species Council, and we also heard from the Department of Transportation and also the folks that are doing the inspections at our borders. And we've got this new system now where it's digital, and that we heard, it was the first time I'd heard it, that it's 75% effective. It's 75% of the people who are coming into our islands are filling out the form. So immediately, what about the other 25%? Right? We have to be moving toward that 100% goal and fast, because you never know. I mean, sometimes you've probably seen on the news a cobra shows up in somebody, or a python shows up in somebody's driveway, and everybody's saying, how the hell did that thing get there? Oh. Well, guess what? Somebody brought it in as a pet when it was about this big. And it starts getting, oh my God, what are we going to do? Gladys, what are, oh, let's just put them outside. Yeah. Right. So big problem. So, and again, just to be clear, this is a big picture view. And so at my February Listen Story, we'll be getting into the nuts and bolts, all these priorities that I just went through. We'll have the actual bill numbers that are going through the legislature, whether they're moving or whether they aren't. And the way you can keep track of this is there's an excellent website, and that's capital.hawaii.gov, and that's capital with an O. And you can see the bills, when the hearings are, your opportunities. You can either send in your testimony online, or you can actually attend the hearing and testify in person on the hearing, or you can come down to the Capitol and testify in person. Okay, so yeah, so today it's about direction. I'm just giving you an overall view of the direction. In February, it's going to be more about the details and execution, whether we're actually able to start moving on, which bills are actually moving forward. Okay, now for as far as district-related priorities, enterprise zoning with Rep. Garcia. This is a district priority that is modernizing enterprise zones, especially for areas like Kalailoa, where I live, as I mentioned. So these enterprise zones, what they do is they offer incentives like to business tax breaks and reduced regulations, makes it easier for the business to get into operation. So the current tools and the limits today, they don't reflect our communities or the economic activity or the potential that's there. Counties are capped at 6 zones, 6 enterprise, which no longer fits West Oahu's growth and land use. So the goal is to update the framework so areas like Kalailoa can be considered. As you know, the Naval Air Station at Kalailoa, it closed in 1999, Barbers Point. And so, as I mentioned, we've moved in there in 2004. We actually rent from Hunt Corporation, who bought 50 some odd acres of the officers' quarters there, and with the big plan that they're going to build these high-end homes. Well, that was in 1999. I think it was 2000. Can't remember exactly what year they bought it, but it's still in the planning mode. It hasn't happened yet. But there is a lot of potential there. And so Rep. Diamond Garcia is leading this effort. We're working together at the state and the city level. And so these expanded zones can support local manufacturing, renewable energy, tech, agriculture, and direct-to-consumer businesses. So the land is there, the infrastructure is there, the workforce potential, but it needs the right designation to unlock it. And that's where these enterprise zones will be helping out. So it is a partnership with the city. Will nominate the areas once the legislation moves through the House and the Senate, et cetera. So we're in early stages, and we'll share more as this develops. Next is the district-related next district-related priority is Kanahili Community Hale. I introduced a bill last year, Senate Bill 1549, to support the Kanahili homestead here in Kapolei. It was referred to the Hawaiian Committee, WHAM. It passed the Hawaiian Committee, and the WHAM Committee, the Money Committee, decided not to give it a hearing, so it died. So what this bill does, it gives funding to Kanahili community, the hale they want to build, lanai, an imu station, a craft hale, multi-sport courts for pickleball, basketball, volleyball, along with a new access road and parking. So, this is more than just a hale, right? This community building, it's a place for gatherings, for programs, meetings, and community support. So Kanahili residents, they've been clear to me about the need for a safe, permanent space to serve their ohana and beneficiaries. And the project also improves access and safety, which is important for events, kupuna, and emergency situations. So the Kanahili Community Association, they've done the work, they've organized, they've built support, and they've brought forward a very clear proposal. So my role is to help move that community project through the legislature. So I will be reintroducing it, and we'll see what happens this session. Folks, numbers count. They matter. So when, here we're having all these hearings and people are coming to 5 people testify in favor, 200 testify against it. Well, guess what? Or how about this? 500 in favor of it and 2 people opposed to it, right? It helps us in our deliberations as we're going through all of these bills. So please get involved in the process. So like I said, I'm happy to reintroduce the bill, and I'm going to continue working with the community and DHHL to move it forward. And speaking of DHHL, Department of Hawaiian Homelands, I was at their not groundbreaking, but their opening in Kalailoa, just down the road from where we live, for Yorktown. And it's on Yorktown Street. But this happened just recently. And what they did is they used a former Navy building, and they converted it into 18 units to help those Hawaiians who were homeless as a transition to get back on their feet again. And it's an amazing opportunity. So think about it. There's these buildings there. You don't have to start from scratch. They did the remodeling. They got the money. It was paid for with a federal fund. It didn't cost the state anything, right? So again, it was Lau Lima, many hands working together. And now it's, brought tears to a lot of folks' eyes to see this. We're helping get Hawaiians who are houseless off the streets, get them in there, get them a job, and then help them with their lives. So it's really a good example. And then next is another bill I'm working on. It focuses on lowering the cost of everyday basics. Groceries and over-the-counter medicine are things that families have to buy every week, and right now they're taxed just like everything else. So this bill that I'm introducing would slowly remove the state GET tax on groceries and non-prescription drugs so that people they keep more of their money. It also stops counties from adding extra GET surcharges on groceries later on. So we spent a full day recently working through the bills like this, asking questions, running the numbers, and pushing for real cost of living relief. And again, so this is about helping working families, seniors on fixed incomes, and anyone feeling stretched financially at the checkout line. It's not a silver bullet, but it's a practical step towards making everyday life a little bit more affordable. And then Rule 48. Maybe some of you haven't heard of this. Rule 48 exists to protect a defendant's right to a speedy trial. And that's important, and I support that principle. But Rule 48 was never meant to prevent serious cases from being heard at all, okay? So since last year, our office heard from hundreds of people about how Rule 48 is being used, especially after the case involving Anna Marie Musico, local girl, a child sex abuse survivor here in Hawaii. And in that case, a sexual assault charge was dismissed with prejudice under Rule 48, meaning that the case can never be retried. And that outcome raised real concerns in our community. So sexual assault cases are complex, they take time, they involve trauma, forensic evidence, often delays that are not in the survivor's control. So when a case like this is dismissed permanently because of a timing issue, right, it undermines confidence in our judicial system. So the survivors are asking a fair question. Why does a procedural deadline outweigh accountability in violent crimes? So I'm working on legislation this session to fix that imbalance. And so the goal is not to eliminate speedy trial rights, but the goal is to make sure that Rule 48 is applied appropriately in sexual assault cases. So we already treat some of these cases differently under Rule 48. So serious violent crimes deserve that same consideration. So this is about fairness, balance, and making sure that survivors aren't shut out of the justice just because of a procedural delay. We can protect constitutional rights and make sure that serious cases get their day in court. It shouldn't be one or the other. And then as far as community updates, opening day. I'd like to invite you all to come join us, join me and the rest of the legislature and the governor. Stop by my office. I'm in 201, the second floor, on opening day next week on Wednesday, as I mentioned. And my office will be open for meet and greet starting at noon. There's not going to, we have what's called a 2-year biennium. And so if you call on the news where you see all the entertainment and all the stuff that's going on, that's last year. In the second year of the biennium it's pretty much none of that and just get right down to business. So there's no program or speeches. So it's in the opening session on Wednesday. It'll be just a chance to say hello, connect, and then grab some famous Gabbard homemade toffee treasures. We used to make that. If you haven't tasted it, you have to come to my office to get a piece. Carol makes it. I'm the official taster. I'm in charge of quality control. And so I don't charge minimum wage. I do it for free. But believe me, oh, and by the way, I give a package of toffee to every one of the legislators and the governor on their birthday every year. And I can't tell you, because it's all about relationships. You want to get your bills passed. You have to make friends. You want to, and over the years, I've gotten notes from legislators saying, Senator, thank you so much for the toffee. You were the only one that remembered my birthday. And, wait a minute, he's married, he's got kids. What, are you kidding? But anyway, so we'll be, Carol and I will be there in my office. We'll have some toffee to serve, plus some tea. And by the way, parking is a hassle on opening day. So just let me know if you're coming, and then we'll let you know where you can park. I just read that there's no parking at the Capitol. Yeah. So we'll have a list of places where the public can park. Okay, and then before we get into the Q&A, okay, good. I just want to mention that what's going on at UH West Oahu, the wall that heals on the Great Lawn. And I was there this week when it arrived for the opening ceremony, and it's very powerful, just standing there reading the names, and it really stays with you. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the Wall That Heals, it's the official traveling replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. And there's also a mobile education center, and it honors more than the 58,000 Americans, including 278 Hawaii soldiers who lost their lives in Vietnam. And it honors their families, veterans, and communities still impacted by that legacy. So the wall, open 24 hours a day. It's free to the public. And even though tonight is the final organized event, the exhibit will remain open to the public 24/7 until Monday at 2 p.m. when they have their final ceremony, closing ceremony. So there's still time to visit. Tonight at 6:30, the event is called Light the Night. And so everyone will be given a candle, and together we can light the wall and the crowd in orange in a quiet, meaningful moment of remembrance. So if you're able, I encourage you to stop by before it leaves. It's something that's worth experiencing in person. And I don't see them here. I also wanted to thank Eddie Freeman and Sue Bauer who for their dedication and leadership in bringing this powerful memorial to our community, and for being there every step of the way. It was actually in 2024 when I saw on the evening news, I saw that the memorial was on Hilo and that they're going to be going to Maui. And so, and I was at the opening here on Wednesday, and I mentioned this in my speech, my remarks, and I saw that newscast. I was like, okay, when's it coming to Oahu? And there's no mention of that. So that was 2024. And then May of last year, Eddie and Sue, they contacted me and they said, we're thinking about bringing the wall. And I said, oh, wow, yeah, to Oahu. And I said, wow, it's great. Could you help us? I said, yeah, what can I do? And I said, well, we're trying to put it out at UH West Oahu. You know anybody over there that you can hook us up with? So I made a few calls, talked to the chancellor, vice chancellors, arranged for meetings, and here we have it. And it's a very powerful exhibit. Whether you're politically, whether you're for the war, against the, it has to do with our soldiers and who made the ultimate sacrifice for us. I have kind of an emotional tie. Of course, my daughter Tulsi, she's still a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. She's done 2 deployments to the Mideast. My father was in the Air Force for 25 years. And I actually tried to enlist in 1965 in the Army to go to Vietnam. Not to shoot people, but I wanted to be a medic. And I was living in Florida at the time. I may have mentioned this in a previous meeting, but 1965, a Hurricane Betsy came through the Gulf of, what's called the Gulf of America now. Hurricane Betsy came through, and usually the surf in the Gulf of Mexico is only about 6 inches high year round. So during the hurricanes, of course, the surfers would go crazy because it's like Hawaii. I mean, 10, 12 feet surf. It's just crazy. I was out there, bad vision. I had glasses. I used to wear glasses when I surfed, but I'd lost my glasses previously. And my dad refused to buy me another pair because I'd already lost 3 pairs that year. And so I was out there just, anyway, the wave closed out. My board went in front of me. I got caught up in the curl. And as I was going like that, the skeg hit me right here in the throat. And that's all I remember. I passed out. I don't know how long it was later, but the next thing I remembered was my friends were slapping my cheek on the beach. Mike, you okay? You okay? I said, what? So she says, oh man, you wiped out. That was one of the biggest waves of the day. We were watching from the, and I said, yeah, okay, I guess I'm okay. And there was no external blood, just a little kind of like a pinprick, like this, a pimple or something, just a little tiny bit of blood. Is he okay? Because we had dates and we're going out to party that night. I said, yeah, I'm fine. So we went out and we're getting something to eat. And then all of a sudden, I started gasping for breath. And my friends freaked out and they took me to the emergency room at Eglin Air Force Base. And they had me go through all the tests and everything. And the doc said, you have no idea how lucky you are to be here right now. You have a huge hole in your esophagus. We're going into surgery right now. Took me into surgery, sewed me up. And I was in there a couple weeks. And then a while later, after I started on the mend, is that I decided to enlist because I wanted to help. This great country that we live in, and I didn't want to shoot people, as I mentioned, but I did want to be a medic and help soldiers. So my friend and I, we took a bus up to Montgomery, Alabama, to the enlistment center, and we joined on the buddy plan. My friend Bob and I, and his last name begins with a B, so he made it all the way through. I went through the whole physical and everything, and got to the last point. The doc said, the guy said, son, you really want to get in? I said, yes, sir. I'm ready to go. And he said, well, it's this thing, ruptured esophagus. What, are you okay now? I said, oh, I'm fine. And then he looked at me. He said, sorry, I can't take you. And he marked off the 4F box on the form. And then said, he said, thank you for trying, son, but we can't take you. You're medically unfit. And then, of course, I went out the swinging doors. My friend was sitting there, and he looked at me, and I was just stunned. And we both started crying and hugged each other. And he went on to serve. But anyway, when I went to the wall, that's my Yeah, I'm just very appreciative of all the soldiers who, for all of you who have served or might be serving now. It's worth your time to visit the wall. Okay, so now, again, mahalo nui for joining me this morning, and my staff. We're here to listen and problem solve together. And so I'll open it up for questions right now. And Melanie will come around. If we don't get to your question, then we'll be able to. Oh, yeah, let me do that. Yeah, before I forget. Who was that? Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity? Deluxe lunch bags. They are for free. They dropped 20 of them off at my office yesterday. They're right here. I don't know if there's 20 there. No, there's 10. I don't know. Anyway, you're welcome. Take one. That's one. And the other thing is, it's a survey. You may have gotten this by email if you haven't filled it out yet. I'm taking asking for your priorities. I want to know what's on your mind in terms of your priorities, and that will help me guide me along the way as we go through this legislative session. You can just take a picture here, and then if you don't have the address, and then, oh yeah, and then the directory. They just came out with the new directory, and this has all the legislators' names. So you can call them up and email information, committees, all the stuff that you need to know about the session. All right, first question. Anybody? Covered a lot of stuff, so.
First of all, thank you so much. From your priorities, one thing I wanted to know with the biosecurity, I was looking for any like trainings for the public on how to identify, because I know I go on the North Shore and I see all of the palms that are dead now. I mean, it's really apparent in the last couple of years. And I was just wondering how, as a public, we could, train a little bit to know what to be looking for in our own communities, just because I have palms. I don't notice the rhinoceros beetles yet in my neighborhood, but I know that it could come at any time because they're already in EVA. So if there's some way for all of us to somehow have more training on what that looks like and what to spot in our own landscaping. But then the other thing that I'm very concerned about, and I know it's not necessarily the state's people, is the funding of ICE and the not funding of our local police and fire and our services here in the state, where we're spending all of this money on this new police force that has no accountability and doesn't seem to be trained and takes anybody and is using really brutal measures. And I'm not noticing it in my neighborhood, but I am noticing that we're trying to hire a police chief, but we can't pay the amount of money that we need to get them in here. Like, we don't pay our police officers what it costs to live here. And so it's really upsetting to me to see it in other places, and I would like to see that kind of money being used for our local police that need it, our local services that need it, and not for this immigration roundup that we're doing. Or even fund the courts. If you want to fix immigration, fund the courts, because right now the courts are not funded at all. Anyway, so that's that part. And then lastly, what I always am coming for the local students here in Kapolei High School and for our community is a performing arts center. And I know that seems just silly after the other things I mentioned, but I would really like to see a performing arts center here in the high school area. There's a field over to the left here that we could drop it in, so that we don't have to go all the way to Pearl City or rent a space from the Crop Center, although it was nice last year. We have a vibrant community here, and I would love to see our students and our local everybody.
Okay.
That's
Wow, 3 questions. Okay. Thank you very much. And your name is?
Leslie.
Leslie, okay. So Leslie, is in terms of the first invasive species, as I mentioned, we had a meeting with the Hawaii Invasive Species Council just yesterday. It was a joint informational briefing that the House and the Senate, the chair of the Ag Committee in the House, and myself as chair Ag, and because it's a big concern. And we will send we'll post that and that was one of the things that came up because they have ways for the public to contact them to alert them. What are these? CRBs? They come. I mean, it's so critical that we get these under control. And they're already doing that. I mean, they're trying their best, but we need to do more. I mean, here we live in paradise. Just imagine Hawaii without any coconut trees, right? And in some communities, some neighborhoods, that's already happening, right? So I'll post that and we'll send it out to you in terms of your contact information here. And then as far as ICE, as you know, it's a federal issue. And so I would suggest, if you're concerned about that, which you are, that contact our congressional delegation, let them know. And what I said earlier, it's not just local issues, federal issues as well. Let them know your concerns. Yeah. And then the more people that do that, then the more seriously they take it, right? And then as far as, and I agree with you, and just we have two officers here. It's really nice to see them here and appreciate their support in keeping our communities safe, right? We need to be doing more of that to look at how can we pay them a salary that will, so they don't have to get a second job. They've got a very serious job that they have right now, so they can feed themselves and their families. So that's something. And again, it's a city and county thing, but Andrea Topola, Councilwoman Topola, she's the councilwoman for this district, and just contacting her and then copy me as well, and then we can see what we can do from the legislative side and the state side. And then as far as the Performing Arts Center, have you talked to the principal here? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's what would help, I think, Leslie, is that if you have a committee, or it doesn't have to be a formal committee, but just have a group of people that sign something and just saying it's time that Kapolei has a performing arts, so we don't have to drive at other places. We are the second city, right? We've got a university now. Why can't we have a performing arts and start building the momentum, right? Reach out to your friends, families, whatever, and reach out to the churches, right? Reach out to everyone you can think of and just start building up, whether it's that's what I would do. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I spend 98% of my time in this district. So, what I'd like to say is my particular concerns are crime and housing. And, all the other ones are also important because they make the district better, but those are my concerns. And, one thing that would be very helpful is to have demographics on the ownership, house ownership for the district, the number of people that are living in apartments in the district, if possible. It's probably hard to find, but it would be very helpful if you put that out. The other would be low income. What's the percentage of people living in low income? And the third would be the housing, the homeless, I'm sorry, the houseless people. What's the percentage? I think it would help everyone understand better our district and how to address some of these issues.
Excellent point. Thank you, Bob. We'll look into that. We'll check. And by the way, you don't have to have a question. If you have a suggestion too, that's fine, right? Or if you like what Bob just was asking for this information on these statistics. For some reason, when that particular agency that we're going to contact gets a letter from the senator of the district, they take it more seriously when they get it from Bob Kraft. Okay, because they know that we're going to follow up on it, and they don't want to go to their boss and say, "Hey, you got this thing from Gabbard." So yes, that's why we're here, right? So please, any suggestions or anything like yeah. So we'll look in that and then we'll get back. Yeah. Okay, Hartson, what's up?
I think part of her question was, since ICE is imprisoning some people here on island, is there some way we can get them to fund the police here on island?
That's a good question. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we can find out. I have no idea. Yeah. Officers, you want to weigh in on that?
Talking about, people getting arrested for immigration here.
Yeah. ICE that's here, his question had to do with, since they're here, how about funding for the local police who are, can we get any of that federal funding, right, Hartson?
Yes.
Yeah,
But, yeah, it's little above our pay
Sure.
grade
sure.
for, Sergeant, Sergeant Fumi, Moroka, and, Parole Current Function. We work out here in District 8, which is between Elbow Beach and Makaha. And it's, yeah, that would be something for our administrators to reach out to the federal level for assistance with funding to the city. So, yeah, I can bring that up though.
I got a question. Sorry. That's it. That's federal money. What would you expect that money to do for us? Like, what would you expect the police officers to do in return for that money? Or is it just general funding just to fund?
General
I'm
funding,
just curious.
pay you a salary so you can stay here instead of moving to Vegas.
Yeah, it's gonna be, in my opinion, it's gonna be kind of hard to have federal, because we're city, that's like 2 steps down. Right?
Well, no, I understand that,
Yeah.
but I mean, in some places they are enlisting the local police in the ICE activities.
That's true, and I can tell you, they're not doing that here, so that's gonna be again, a harder issue for us to ask for money. And again, it is, like Sergeant said, it is way above our pay grade. I just said it's gonna be hard I can see it being hard for the city to request money for funding with nothing in return. We do get federal funding, and that's usually in the form of grants, right, to do extra police work on top of our regular duty. So it'd be like speeding, you see officers outside doing extra speeding enforcement, seatbelt enforcement, DUI checkpoints are usually funded by federal grants. That's where we get our federal money usage from. When it comes to actual budgets, like we got a stipend of some type from the federal government, yeah, we're too low on the total board to really answer that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
I asked this a while back, the last time you had one of these, about the emergency second road from Upper Kilo. And at the time you were working with, I think, Race Pacific or somebody about opening that up during emergency
Yes.
times. What's the progress on that?
What's the latest, Mel, did we have anything recently? They were getting,
One signature.
they're waiting for one signature.
It's UH law.
Yeah, okay. That's the most recent thing, because you got to get the approval signatures of the landowners in the area. So the last one is UH West Wall, and we will check and then let you know what their deadline is, if there is a deadline, so we can get that thing built. Yeah. As you know, that's been an issue. Yeah, go ahead, please.
We did, do a trial run of that, evacuation road. This is about 3 months ago.
Oh.
So, HFD, HPD, and, very specific, some other agencies participated in doing a trial run of the emergency evacuation road, just to make sure our cars would fit, the roadway is fit for cars to go through, so,
And is it?
yes.
Okay, good. That's good. That's good
Yeah,
news.
Trucks that ride through there every day.
Yeah,
We did a trial run, it's just a matter of getting all the signatures down.
exactly.
Having the MOU and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Making progress.
Yeah. And I know some of you, this has been an issue that's been ongoing for years. one way in, one way out. And in terms of getting federal money for, it's not, quite frankly, it's not happening anytime soon. So that's why this evacuation road is the next best thing. And getting that project finished will make, it'll, yeah.
I think AI should be able to create a good evacuation plan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that this road is the plan. Yeah. So it's just a question of getting it.
I was stuck in that
Yeah.
gridlock,
Yeah. Yeah.
because all of the lights
Right.
did not change at all.
Right.
But there should be a way to create a
Yeah,
plan that
yeah.
at least get people away from the
Yeah.
from the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
This is no more online. I'd like to revisit the fitness.
Sure.
Stress beetle topic. I have them in my yard. I can see them hitting the neighbors' yards as well. I recognized them. I called in, I reported it, and they said pretty much we're starting to focus on the other islands where we can prevent it versus the Oahu where it's, everywhere now. So that was the response I got when I called. And then anything I've ever looked up to, okay, what do I do to try to get rid of? I've been up there on the ladders with the plastic netting and digging them out, cleaning out, and and talk to my neighbors about compost, don't leave it out, and all that kind of stuff. I'm a little frustrated with not knowing what to do. Now I've tried everything today. I noticed another branch go like this, and once they get the heart, the tree's gone. And I've been working hard. So when I looked up chemicals, it's so kind of beyond your pay grade. It's like beyond how do I go to Home Depot and find something? So if you could have something that tells us the easiest thing for simple little me to do to fight them in my own backyard. Is there a product at Home Depot, Lowe's, City Mill, wherever that I can pick up and give it a fighting chance? Or once they're, getting the heart chopped on the tree. I mean, we'd like to know what we can physically do at this point, because I feel like I've done a lot and I've called in and I've looked up the chemicals that they have posted. The names are so long, I have no idea.
Gotcha.
So something a little more straightforward for
Yep.
us.
We'll talk to them and get back to you very soon. Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Sorry, I just want to mention, follow up on that, comment. Yeah, I've seen them in my yard, and I just live across the street from the high school. So, this was about a year ago when I saw them on the ground, and I was like, well, what are those? And then, I had more education. So they're here, and the way the solution is that we're applying, I live in an apartment complex, is that they're cutting the trees back about twice a year to like nubs, and then the trees grow out. But, I'm not enough of an expert to know how to deal with that. They're here.
Yeah. I wasn't aware that they'd written off Oahu, saying there's too many of them here. We're going to another island, but that's one of the things that I'll double check, because we're encouraging people to, like yourself, right? Okay, what can I do? This is my home, my family, government, you're supposed to be helping me do this. What is the answer? Yeah. So we'll get back to you. Anyone else? Right there.
Hi, my name is Richard, and my question is really probably a city and county question, but I did hear this on the radio yesterday. Because of the amount of deaths on the roadways, they're considering bringing back a written test for driver's license. And I want to know if that's true. I agree with that. I think that's really important, because you still see people running red lights. And I think that putting a test in place prior to getting a license is a great idea. We used to have that a long time ago.
Right.
But I'm hopeful that will take care of a lot of these ding-dongs on the road.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe the officers would like to weigh in on that. I saw that on the news as well. And one of the things, Representative Darius Keela from the west side, farther west side, he's the chair of the Transportation Committee in the House. And I saw him on the news saying he's not in favor of everybody, because that's one of the options, is everybody's got to take this test. But his point that he was making and we'll see this in the bill as it's introduced, is that it just should be for those chronic guys that are getting tickets and the lawbreakers, right? That have that. If you want to get your driver's license again, you got to do this, right? But not saying everybody's got to take this test, retake the test every 2 years. I think that's what it used to be, every 2 years, yeah.
I was just to be clear, we're talking about renewals, right?
Yeah.
Everybody to get the license has to take a test.
Yeah.
A driver's test. So I mean, that's all I know. But
Okay.
that's, again, we don't make the laws, so.
Right.
I think it'd be good, you want a personal opinion, but just to be real, okay?
Right.
Most of the people that do dumb things, they know they shouldn't.
Yeah.
You run a red light, you're not supposed to run a red light, so I don't know exactly how much the test in reality is gonna work. We just gotta get the education out there and get people to stop doing what they're not supposed to. And if you could figure that one. You'd be everything.
Yeah.
Plus, it's gonna cost a lot more money to the taxpayers for everybody to keep having to retake that test.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Get that into it.
On the retake of the test, I'll just let you know that things have changed. I have a 16-year-old and it's like online now. Like, you can literally, you have to have a front facing screen and, you can't have people behind you, but you can take these kinds of tests now online. So it's a lot easier than it used to be. You had to go in and have paper form and somebody has to grade it and all of that other stuff. So I think that, I have not taken a test in over 30 years and probably should, rules change, things change. And, maybe every 10 years or 5 years or something, to have people at least know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting the sign. It's time. Our time is up. So thank you all very much for coming. And again, if we didn't get to your concern or your issue, just drop a line, drop an email, or call the office and we'll follow up. Aloha, have a great day. Yes.
That if you go to the wall, there are butterflies that you can release at the wall.
Oh,
So there are butterflies to release at the wall. So just ask Sue, or I think they might have it at the information tent. You can ask for a butterfly to release.
That
All the
event's
way.
tonight at 6:30?
No, so ideally you don't want to release the butterflies at night.
Oh, no, I mean, like, there is an event tonight at 6:30?
Yeah.
Yes, that's your candlelight, but
And there's
this is
parking?
throughout
Okay.
while supplies last. She has a bunch of them to release all the way to the end of the program.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. And aloha to everybody online. Thank you all for coming. Again, mahalo.